I chose the title for this lecture from an entry in Markings, Dag Hammarskjöld's Reflections on Meaning and Purpose in Life. Hammarskjöld was the second Secretary General of the United Nations and worked endlessly after World War II in pursuit of an ideal, to establish an institution where nations could resolve conflict without war and collaborate for the benefit of humankind. He wrote, "And so keep alive the incentive to push on further, that pain in the soul which drives us beyond ourselves. Do not look back, and do not dream about the future either. Your duty, your reward, your destiny are here and now." Now, Macmillan lecturers tend to use words such as vision and dreams quite a lot, as well they should. Each lecture has inspired us to think about what would happen if only we could imagine a day when. In many instances, we would have done well to take their counsel. All too often, however, visions become momentary hallucinations and dreams mere fantasies because we are so paralyzed by the contingencies of the moment that we fail to take the most important step, the next one. While each of us likes to assume we have complete control over our future, we know that we do not exist in a world entirely of our own making or fully under our control. No one has the perspicacity to capture the future. As Winston Churchill noted, it is a mistake to try to look too far ahead. The chain of destiny can only be grasped one link at a time. Every rehabilitation specialist knows how capricious life can be when disease and disability intrude upon promise on a personal level. In reality, there is no day that comes with a guarantee, so we act as if there were such certain knowledge, but with full awareness that even our most well-thought-out efforts will have unintended consequences. Our destiny is always and only in the moment before us. There may be times to reflect on a road not taken, but rarely time to regain the step not taken. I do not think that physical therapists ever forget their first patients or the experience of those first encounters. During those days, it was common to make a home visit with the patient about 1 week prior to discharge. There was this particular patient with whom I had worked daily for about 3 months. An older man in his mid-80s, he had an incomplete spinal lesion from a metastatic primary of the prostate. He was finally independent in transfers and could ambulate safely using a walker and standby assistance. So one afternoon, the patient, the OT, and I piled into a taxi and went to his house just outside the city. With each therapist taking a flank, he began the long walk up the steep driveway, his head craned down, watching each step over the cracked concrete. We heard the aluminum storm door creak open, and his wife came out to greet us. At that moment, he lifted up both his arms and, stretching out towards her, shouted, "Emma, I did this for you." I didn't get it at all then, my only awareness being that a patient, my patient, had taken his hands off his walker. Much later now, I realized that all these people taught me about a critical lesson about the essence of rehabilitation. Most of us are just trying to make it through the day or week so we can go home, sometimes to a real home, sometimes to a familiar way of feeling when the body rebels, or maybe just to a safe place in our minds, but home all the same. And physical therapists get people home to their own private destinies every day. Science is the responsibility of a profession, and it is the obligation of a professional society to exercise it. This obligation will challenge us to hold ourselves as accountable as we would hold others. Despite our directive to stay on message, we dishonor our scientists and the clinicians who contribute to research when we tell the story as we would like it to be, rather than admit the limitations of our own data. We advertise using statements about treatment superiority, despite the clear fact that no such comparisons have been attempted in the very studies we cite as evidence. We have backed up claims for effectiveness using any published research, regardless of whether the target condition, the population, or the interventions are the same. Politicians know this tactic well. Give the answer you want, regardless of the question asked, to get your message out. Ultimately, a single misstatement can destroy all the credibility we have built with patients, payers, and politicians. Truth cannot be the first casualty of ambition. Most of us have heard the stories of the Reconstruction aides. The photographs of Molly and her charges at Reed College suggest more a tranquil finishing school than a wartime training for a select core of women, quite unlike their peers, when many women were infrequently allowed to pursue higher education, and none were yet allowed to vote. Neither fact delayed their determination to take the next step. When they arrived in France, there were no proclamations of Reconstruction Month. In fact, they were told to return home by the commander of the army post to which they had been sent. Did they send telegrams grousing that they had been denied a seat at the Reconstruction table? No, they simply recognized their own worth and set about to alter their place in the contemporaneous social structure. They refused to be bound by circumstances or allow anyone to redefine their purpose. So they stayed put, struggled with substandard working conditions, used their knowledge and skills to their fullest ability, and demonstrated that rehabilitation could restore mobility and function. When the Surgeon General disbanded them a few years later, McMillan and her colleagues just went forward, founded a professional society, and began to develop educational standards to ensure competent clinicians, a responsibility over which they took complete ownership. APTA has a long history of not giving in and not giving up. We wrote the playbook for emerging health professions in the last 50 years. We have no need to back away from nuisances inflicted by our imitators in their efforts to become our equals. In fact, if power is in the perception, such attempts confirm our much better established position in the political milieu. I am not suggesting that we will not have to argue cogently for our point of view, or that authorizing bodies such as state legislatures, regulatory commissions, or accrediting agencies can be ignored. On the contrary, no group is autonomous as we have intended to use that word, to mean independent or apart. But there is another sense of autonomy that is a more apt description of our aims: self-determination. Physical therapy must continue to be a self-determined profession. One of my patients was just a little younger than me. Ralph had suffered a severe neurological insult. His wife was completely devoted to becoming his full-time caregiver. We were together in the gym one afternoon working on segmental rolling onto his side. His wife was on the mat with him, and as I was trying to teach her how to assist him, at one point he reached up and his arms engulfed her as he began to pull her toward him. I let the scene unfold, uncertain as to what would happen next. Although his actions were unclear, the meaning of the words that spilled out through his dysarthria was not. He said, "I thought you would leave me." And she said softly, "I never could," as she laid down next to him and cradled in his embrace. This time I got it. Ralph and his wife had found their destiny in that moment. They were already home. Illness is a disruption of human potential, and physical therapy is a moral enterprise. Repeatedly, our knowledge refashions the humanity of our patients and creates an environment where hope survives. Our ethical imperative as healthcare providers lies within these moments. We take scraps of human existence and turn them into whole cloth. We do nothing less than mediate justice when a person's life has indeed been unfair. If we ever forget that, then all has been for naught. There are many steps to be taken each day. The next ones are for the profession and the patients we serve. Their destiny, our destiny, is this moment now.